So, for my final project for the media aesthetic, I decided to choose the movie La La Land, written and directed by Damien Chazelle, and the music is by Justin Hurwitz. This film is a romantic musical of sorts, also a comedy, following the life of Mia and Sebastian. Mia is an ambitious young woman who's trying to make her role as an actress in LA, and Sebastian is a jazz musician trying to get his number one goal in life, which is to open a jazz club right there in LA. This film is a little against like the normal cookie cutter musicals that you may find, whereas in the ending the couple does break up because they find that in order to be truly happy and to reach the goals that they've set for themselves however many years ago, they needed to do that without each other, and that they were never going to truly be happy or get what they wanted with each other. And at the end of the film they do sort of see each other again, and it is a very mutual understanding that that is the best way for them to be truly happy with their lives. The opening credits scene alone has a lot of different aesthetic elements in it from the very beginning of the film. Um, there's a predictive sound in there, whereas the credits kind of roll in for the company and all of that, and then the camera goes up after you hear a bunch of cars honking their horns, seeming that there is a traffic jam, and then once the shot opens up, then we see, yeah, there are a bunch of traffic in LA. Overlapping planes, part of the three-dimensional field effect, is also in there, showing that there's a bunch of objects in front of each other, showing that it is a third-dimensional film. And there is quite a bit of high key lighting all throughout the film because they're up on a bridge close to the sun, sunny day, LA, they're all outside. And then on screen continuity, I think that's how you pronounce it, um, is seen all throughout this one, whereas it's a huge dancing number. So therefore, if one person is dancing and the camera's on them, then the camera moves to a different angle of somebody else. You can still see that person from the first angle in the same position, showing that everything is correlated in the same time, and it just looks a lot better for the people on the screen and the audience too. And there's also the vanishing point. So this photo right here is a shot from that beginning scene. So as you see, it is a lot of high Q lighting around here. There is really slow fall off because the sun is so vibrant in their faces. And then also you see the vanishing point because all the cars are kind of merging together and going forth down the highway. Um, and also, one thing to notice too about the colors and the lighting, there is a lot for this whole entire film. There was quite a bit of blues and yellow hues to it, which often symbolize a lot of emotion and adventure. One thing to notice is that in the beginning of the film, Mia is seen in a lot of very bright and vibrant colors, like the very famous yellow dress from the very cover of the movie screen, a lot of blues, a lot of greens. But once you reach further down the movie, when she's sort of getting upset with her life and also her relationship is starting to go downhill, she's seen in a lot of darker colors, such as just boring grays and also blacks. And she also is dressing down in the sense that instead of wearing very nice dresses, she's instead seen in a lot of sweatshirts and hoodies and just normal t-shirts. Um, One thing for lighting and color in this film, there is overhead lighting in one of the scenes for the audition at a little more towards the end of the film. Predictive lighting is also seen in one of the big fights breakup scenes, and the saturation all throughout the film, it starts off very high, very bright, very crisp, and kind of comes down at the end of the film because although their life is kind of laying itself out in front of them, and it may not be exactly how they pictured it would go. And the brightness is seen all over, but especially in a couple of the outdoor scenes, that is all over and very vibrant. So for the audition scene, there is overhead lighting, and this is a very supposed to be intimate type of scene. The background is completely dark, so the audience is supposed to focus solely on her, and the overhead lighting kind of reflects that they're the main object, that you should be focusing on them and especially what they are saying. And this is also near the end of the film, and this is another example of how she starts to dress in more bland and not quite frilly colors. Right here for the predictive lighting section, they were in a long distance relationship for a portion of the film, and she comes home one day, he's home from tour, and what you would think is that it would be a very bright and happy occasion, but as you can tell, it is very dark, low lit, and the hues and the colors are a little more depressing than what you would think. And then this also kind of predicts the following events in that scene, which is when they have their argument and mutually decide that it is best to move on with life without each other. And this scene right here is near the beginning of the film, so she's in the brighter, happier colors, and it is at a summer party for one of her friends where she meets him for the second time in a row, I think. And this one, obviously, they're supposed to be outside, so the coloring and the lighting is a lot brighter. Because of the shadowing of the sun, you can see there is some fast fall off on this side of the face, but the other side is very bright with slow fall off. For the second dimensional field, there has the headroom, figure to ground principle, and then the psychological closure. So for the headroom, one example would probably be the audition scene where it is more of a talking head and you're supposed to be focusing just on what she's saying, and they had the proper amount of headroom in there so it would not be distracting for the rest of the people watching the movie. And then for the figure to ground principle is right here in the dance scene, so it is touching the ground, kind of has that closure for that in the figure to ground principle. And for the psychological closure, so a lot of films, if you see something that's cut off, you know that there is more attachments to it, such as in the scene, if an arm is cut off or not in the shot, you know it's there because you've seen it before. And this one, for the psychological closure, so you see there are couple cups and then there's only sections of the cups that are going in a line back, which leads you to believe that there are more than 4 glasses than what they show on the screen. And then for the fourth dimensional field, that shows long shots of lateral motion, slow motion, and motion paradox. So for the long shots of lateral motion, that can be seen in one of the opening numbers when Mia and her friends are on their way to another party. They are dancing and walking along the road, which shows lateral motion. And another area for the slow motion is while she is at the party, there is a part where Mia is walking through the crowd and everything is in slow motion except for her, which gives her more time during that number to sing. And also, if you pay attention to the lyrics of the song, it all connects, and the rest of the crowd, the background is in slow motion, but she is not. Um, and then for the motion paradox, there's a lot of different scenes where they're in cars, driving by people, and that shows that type of motion paradox. And then for the sound and editing, the ambient sound is seen when she initially first meets Sebastian. She's walking into a restaurant, he's playing piano, but in the background you can hear, people eating food, people talking, dishes clanking, and that just kind of gives ambient sound that they are not the only ones in that room. And then literal sound can be seen a lot as dialogue all throughout the film, lots of music through there that they're playing. Um, and then some cross shots are seen. One that kind of stood out to me was, so they have the story up until right when they meet, but you're all hearing her side of the story. But as soon as they meet and they cross paths, it immediately is a cross shot to the beginning of the day and telling Sebastian's side of the story up until that moment when they meet. And the over the shoulder shot is seen a lot through dinner scenes, random talking scenes, and also this part right here to kind of give you a glimpse of it is ambient sound is seen throughout because you can see people eating and drinking, and there is Sebastian over there talking, and it is an over the shoulder shot of Mia looking onto the room. Overall, this movie did have quite a bit of aesthetic elements. It did win, I think, six Oscars and was also nominated for a lot of Golden Globes and Emmys because of the amazing work. One of my favorite films. I don't watch it enough though, but it is definitely well worth it.